If you're watching this video, either the algorithm knows you really like Yosemite National Park or you just searched about it. I bet you know about Yosemite Valley, Yosemite Falls, and even the most famous area, the Tunnel View. I think we can all agree that most travel guides tend to lead us to the most popular areas and hikes, which is not a bad thing because popular places are there for a reason, and it's really cool to visit those. But it's also nice that sometimes you can unwind and discover new areas that are not as crowded and sometimes even prettier than the popular places. So in today's video, I'll take you to the most underrated hikes in Yosemite National Park. Yosemite receives hundreds of thousands of visitors each year. In 2021, they had 3.2 million visitors. So as expected, it is a pretty busy park. But what if I told you that our favorite hikes and areas were not the most popular ones? We got to spend 4 days in Yosemite National Park, and we got to explore the very popular areas such as Tunnel View, Glacier Point, Yosemite Valley, but we also got to discover hidden gems, which are not very mainstream. Our first stop was at Hetch Hetchy, which is the trailhead for Rancheria Falls, and either you want to backpack or you just want to take in the views or you want to do backcountry camping, I would definitely add this one to your list. But before we continue, all I want to warn you is to plan your trip according to the water flow from the waterfalls, because that will change your experience drastically, and it did for us. So if you're doing that, just be aware of the waterfalls and when it's flowing, when it's dry. I'll link the video up here with the biggest mistakes and the best things we've done planning our trip, but I just wanted to get that out of the way. Alright, let's dive deeper into Hetch Hetchy and the Rancheria Falls Trail because this place deserves more recognition and more attention than it gets. Hetch Hetchy Reservoir is about 40-minute drive from Yosemite Valley. It's a bit tucked away, but that's kind of the beauty of it. While everyone is filing into the valley to see El Cap, Half Dome, which are incredible, don't get me wrong, Hetch Hetchy feels like a hidden gem. The reservoir itself is actually part of Yosemite, but the fun fact is that San Francisco gets most of its water supply from there. But here's a kicker. It also serves as the starting point for some of the most stunning and underrated hikes in the park. For Rancheria Falls, you'll start the hike by crossing the dam, which already sets the tone with some incredible views of the reservoir and the surrounding granite walls. It feels like you've stepped into the secret part of Yosemite that only a handful of people know about. The trail is about 13 miles round trip if you're just going to the falls and back, but you can also extend it if you're planning to camp or explore more of the area. The elevation gain is around 1,600 feet. So while it's not the easiest hike, it's totally manageable for most people who are used to moderate trails. What's amazing about this hike is how the scenery changes along the way. You'll start with these wide open views of the reservoir, and as you make your way deeper into the trail, it shifts to forests and some wildflowers depending on the season and rocky outcrops. There are a couple of smaller waterfalls you pass, especially if the water flow is high, which is why I mentioned that it's very important to plan your trip according to the water flow of the waterfalls at Hetch Hetchy. Spring, right after the snow melt, is honestly the best time to go. The waterfalls are roaring, the greenery is vibrant, and the temperature is perfect. Not too hot and not too cold. Now when you get to the Rancheria Falls, it truly feels like a reward. I felt so accomplished when we got there, especially because we struggled so much to do that trail because we went during fall, so everything was dried up. But it felt so good getting to the top of it. The views are amazing and it truly feels like a reward. These falls aren't as tall or famous as Yosemite Falls. The water cascades down a series of rocky tiers, and it's kind of the spot where you'll just want to sit for a while, take in the sound of rushing water and soak up the peace and quiet. And the best part is that you're not gonna be fighting any crowds around that area. When we were there, we were up early in the morning to go to Rancheria Falls, and there was no one over there. So you can enjoy, there's not a busy crowd, a bunch of noise, people talking, and you're not fighting for a spot in front of the waterfalls. So it's truly an amazing experience. If you're into backcountry camping, there are some really awesome spots to set up camp along the trail, and just before Rancheria Falls, you can find a really nice spot to set up camp. Just make sure that you have your permits sorted out because Yosemite is very strict about that. And of course, always remember to leave no trace. Follow this rule because these places really deserve to be preserved. Now let's switch up gears and talk about another hidden gem in Yosemite National Park, which is the Tuolumne Meadows, and it also does not get enough love or recognition. If Hetch Hetchy feels like a hidden oasis during spring, Tuolumne Meadows feels like you just stepped into a postcard. I swear, everywhere you look, it feels surreal. It doesn't feel like anything around you is real life. It's so pretty, it feels like you're looking at a painting, a postcard, whatever you want to call it, but it was the most beautiful place I've ever been. Tuolumne Meadows is about an hour-and-a-half drive from Yosemite Valley up Tioga Road, which is an experience itself. That drive is full of epic views, so do not rush it. Tuolumne Meadows is this expansive, high-elevation meadow surrounded by granite domes and peaks. It's sitting at around 8,600 feet above sea level, so the air is a little thinner, and the vibe is completely different from the valley. It feels quieter, more serene, and honestly, it's a breath of fresh air, especially if you're coming from the busy crowds from the Yosemite Valley, all that area. It's a different type of vibe. Now, the trail to Glen Aulin is hands down one of the best ways to experience this area. The hike is about 11 miles round trip, starting from the Tuolumne Meadows trailhead, and it's got everything: meadows, flowing rivers, granite canyons, and waterfalls. The trail follows the Tuolumne River, which means you're constantly hearing the sound of water rushing nearby. The first part of the trail is relatively easy, so you're gonna have a great time, but when you get closer to Glen Aulin, it starts to descend and get a little steeper because you're getting into the canyon. But on the first day when you're getting into Glen Aulin, I felt like it was pretty easy, but I kept thinking about the way back because you were gonna have to climb all of that back up. The payoff is worth it though. Glen Aulin feels like your own little paradise. With the Tuolumne River cascading down as the White Cascade waterfall, this spot is breathtaking and the perfect place to take a break, refill your water, with a filter of course, and just soak in the views. From Glen Aulin, we continue further into the backcountry to find a more secluded camping spot. The backcountry here feels untouched and so peaceful. It's the kind of place where you're far enough from the crowds to truly disconnect and immerse yourself in nature. Camping under the stars with the sound of the river in the background was one of the biggest highlights from this trip. Just make sure you have the wilderness permit sorted out and be prepared if you're backcountry camping. Be prepared for the elevation and possible wildlife encounters. Bear canisters are required in Yosemite, so make sure you have one, and if you don't, normally they can rent one out for you at the ranger station or where you pick up your backcountry permit. The hike up to Tuolumne Meadows is definitely a workout because you're gaining all the elevation back that you lost when you got into the canyon. But the views are so pretty that makes time fly by so fast. And it really didn't feel like a workout because you're just soaking in the view and you're excited to get to the next spot, and everything around you is so pretty and so peaceful that it just makes it all worth it. The key thing about Tuolumne Meadows is timing. Tioga Road, which is the road that takes you into Tuolumne Meadows, is normally closed from late fall to late springs because of the snow. So if you're planning a trip, aim for late June through September. We did go in the beginning of October and it was fine, but after that it gets a little tricky. For example, we're in January and Tioga Road is completely closed. Another thing to consider is that they have a shuttle bus running in different times of the year, but when we went there, the shuttle was not running, and it's the shuttle bus that takes you from the end of the hike to the beginning where you started. So that's why we didn't finish the whole trail. We stopped at Glen Aulin and went back because we weren't gonna be able to get back to the car only if we hitchhiked, and I did not want to do that. But make sure to check their website because the shuttle bus does run, and I think they stopped running in the middle of September. That's why we weren't able to get it. And just like Hetch Hetchy, the crowds are way smaller compared to the Yosemite Valley. And just for comparison, we probably saw 10 people total throughout our journey from Tuolumne Meadows to Glen Aulin and back. So it's really not that crowded. That's why I want to make this video so people can know more about this. Maybe different times of the year is a little more busy, but when we went there early October, it was really not busy at all. I will say that I appreciate how empty it was because it feels like you have a little piece of paradise and the whole valley for yourself, but honestly, I feel like people should know more about trails like this. So whether you're going to Hetch Hetchy for the waterfalls during the spring and the dam itself and all those beautiful mountains, or you're going for Tuolumne Meadows for the alpine mountains and the granite and the waterfalls and the Tuolumne River and the meadows, both will give you a crazy different perspective from the Yosemite National Park. They are quieter, underrated, and honestly, it feels like you found a little piece of paradise just for yourself because there's no one around you. You can enjoy the whole place just by yourself or whoever you bring with you. And if you're still curious about these trails and you want to see more of them, you can check out my video where I did a whole itinerary, and I also did a vlog on our trip to Tuolumne Meadows and Hetch Hetchy. And I honestly love these places, so please let me know if you have been there already or if you're planning your trip to Yosemite National Park and you're considering to put one of these places on your list. But either way, it was great hanging out with you guys today. I hope you guys liked the video. Don't forget to like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye!